Welcome to the King Connections podcast. I'm your host, King, and I'm joined today by CFO or CFO for Hire, uh, Judi Otton. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, and just like cotton.
Otton. Okay, great. How you doing today, Judy?
I'm well, King. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Great to have you. Thank you for your investment of time and energy with joining me on the podcast today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, my first question I like to ask, and this is a question because I'm a firm believer, like Einstein says, that everything is energy and energy is everything. So, with that being said, I always ask this question to kind of gauge the energy of the meetings that I'm attending or the people on my podcast or webinars I do. What's your energy level from a spiritual energy level? I'm sorry, from a zero being life sucks to 10 being life is awesome. Where would you say you fit into that spectrum right now?
Most days I'm pretty close to a 10. I have my moments like everyone does, but I bounce back pretty quickly. Life is pretty damn good.
Excellent. Excellent. I kind of figured you would say you were a 10 because the two times we've talked, you've always seemed very energetic. You seem very in a very positive state. And so I always ask that question because what I found out is that people are twos or threes, that they're not going to be engaged. They're not going to be present and they're going to be adversarial. So it's best not to have them present in the meeting. But when people are seven through tens, miracles can happen from there.
And I find that with the people that I work with too. If they're the twos and, everything's hard and their business is so hard and it's everyone else's fault that they're not succeeding, I probably
Yes.
can't help them.
Exactly, exactly. And you see that in our culture today. People who are have platforms and celebrity status that may be twos and threes, and they are able to put that out, that negative energy out in the world, and we see the ramifications of that as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So, thank you for indulging me with that question. I appreciate that. My first question I like to ask now, when I work with individuals such as yourself who come with a positive state of mind, I'm always curious to know, what do you see as your purpose in life?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think there are a couple of parts to it. Certainly, my professional purpose is making business finances accessible and understandable for everyone. But I think as just a human being, I have a different purpose, a higher purpose than that. And that is spreading some of that 10 energy around and
Mm,
showing people that you can create a life that you really love and you can do things your way, any way you want. You just have to be bold enough to take a chance.
love that. Love that. Absolutely. You know, and this term gets thrown around quite a bit in today's society, definitely within the conscious movements we're a part of. You hear conscious leader quite a bit. And depending on who you ask, could be a different way to define being a conscious leader. So I always like to ask people who I identify as a conscious leader, how they themselves would identify or define a conscious leader.
Yeah, in my mind, it has to do with having a higher purpose, having a broader purpose than just, having a business that makes money, which is great. We should all have businesses that make abundant money and have abundant lives, but we need to do something really positive with it. What can
Mm,
we do to help our people, our community, the planet? We all can do a little something, at least a little something.
absolutely. We all should do something
Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure. Now, of all the things that you've accomplished in your life, successes, wisdom gained, what would you say that you're most grateful for?
Yeah, there are a bunch of things. I've been married for 31 years,
Oh,
and that's
congratulations.
not an easy road. And I've learned a lot about myself being in a long relationship with someone else. So that's been a constant source of growth and gratitude. And also, all the other people that I have in my life, all the business connections, all the friends, all the fabulous business owners that I've had the privilege of working with. It's what really makes it fun and interesting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are three behavior traits that you would say you would use to describe yourself?
Hmm. Um, I'm very, and my customers say this as well. I'm very calm.
Hmm.
When something, when there's something going on, I'm typically the one saying, okay, let's look at what's going on here. Let's take this step, take this step. I can often calm people down. I also am very non-judgmental. Wherever we've gotten to in our business and whatever we're doing, we all have room for improvement, and there's nothing to be embarrassed about. We can go from wherever you are and make your business healthier and better than before. Um, what's the third one? I like to have fun. I do. It should always be fun, even if we're working hard.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Now, as we shift to your business, I'm curious to know why people always are creating companies. And I'm really curious to know what inspired you to create GrowthCast.
Yeah, great question. So I owned a business before this and was the CFO and had one of those moments where, oh my God, how am I going to make payroll? And I hadn't been doing cash flow forecasting. So I created a little cash flow forecasting tool for myself, which saved my butt numerous times. When I left that company, I recreated that tool as a SaaS product. Now, that product didn't take off, but the business owners that I was working with needed financial help. They needed, yes, cash flow management, but budgeting and debt consolidation and profitability analysis and all kinds of different flavors of help that I was able to provide them. So I started doing a little consulting. Never thought I'd wind up here, and it's so right for me.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, I noticed that in visiting your website, I came across one of your services you provide. It's a profit map. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my most profitable services, um, because we take a holistic look at your business. I have a diagnostic tool, and we start with the diagnostic tool and go through every aspect of your business. Certainly, we take into account the the things that you, the owner, or owners, are worried about. But I may see some other things that are going on that might be yellow flags or things of concern. So this is a diagnostic process that looks at the overall health of your business and comes up with ways, a map to make your business healthier and more profitable.
Hmm. Sounds very interesting. Does the cost or the fee associated with that service, depending on the size of the business and the revenue and their projections and all those things?
I do flex a lot on the fee for that service, for smaller businesses, and I have even, for certain businesses, done it for free. It's a service that I include in all of my larger packages as well, just as an add-on. So yes, it does flex depending on the business.
Okay. Now, I came also across an article, a blog post you had written about people being afraid of numbers. And when I was going to
Oh.
ask you, why do you think people are afraid of numbers?
We're not really taught business finance. There's a couple of reasons. We're not taught business finance unless we have a college finance degree or an MBA. But if we're just starting a business, there's a lot of stuff that no one's learned. So a lot of it's mysterious. I also think that we all of us human beings have a lot of emotion and a lot of fear and angst around money. We were taught things when we were kids that you don't talk about money, or money's the root of all evil, or rich people are evil and mean and greedy. And that's all limiting beliefs, but it really does affect the way that we're able to do business every day. We have to be able to shine a little light on those limiting beliefs and ask ourselves, is that really true? Is it really, really, really true?
Now, you know that in this world of having a higher purpose, being a conscious leader, that often the higher purpose is something that's really, as Stephen M. R. Covey talks about, a wig, or I'm sorry, Stephen Curry, I'm sorry, his brother, talks about a wig being a wildly important goal, something that's much larger than ourselves can compete or achieve. So my question, and we also have to go out and do some co-creating with other individuals. And I'm always curious to know how people feel about that. So what are your thoughts about co-creating with others to achieve a higher purpose?
I think it's a ball. I think it's so much fun. And I don't think that I could do what I do without co-creating with my clients, because I'm coming into their businesses to help them be healthier and more successful and really thrive. So by definition, we're co-creating something in their businesses. Without them and without the teamwork, there would be nothing.
Now, I'm listening to you speak. Like I said, you bring a very positive state. You're a conscious leader. You love co-creating. You love what you do. But I'm curious to know, what brings you fulfillment in life?
Um, yeah, I guess lots of things. I love hanging out with my friends, being with people. Um, that's one of my favorite things. Um, Personal growth of any kind. If I can do something new at the gym, or improve my golf game, or learn a new technique that I can bring to work, it is also very fulfilling.
Excellent, excellent. Now, we all make about maybe more than 100 so decisions per day, and then throughout our life, over hundreds of thousands of decisions that we actually make. Has there been one decision that you would say as you've made in your life that has been the most meaningful and most significant for you?
Yeah, I left my last corporate job in 2005 without any prospects. I was really unhappy there. It wasn't a good fit for me. I was probably clinically depressed. I cried on my way to work more often than not. And one day I just came home and I said to my husband, I think I'm going to quit this job. And he said, aren't you supposed to have another job? And I said, yeah, but I don't. And he said, okay. And I went in the next day and I quit that job. And it felt like it took me probably 6 months to heal. It felt like I was healing from a long illness. But that also started me on the road to business ownership and entrepreneurship. And I'm so much happier in this world than I was in the corporate realm.
Excellent. Understandable as well. Now, in my business, I'm sorry, did I cut you off?
No, go ahead.
Oh, in my business as a connector, I'm often making connections for clients of mine, helping them to understand who's best to co-create with, understanding through data who's a great person for me to connect with myself or allow myself to get connected to when they reach out to me. So I had to come up with a set of characteristics. I call it 8 characteristics, and I determined that a person must have at least 2 of these in order for me to want to connect with them. And so I'm curious to know, as a conscious leader yourself, do you have any kind of characteristics that you look for when someone is introducing someone to you, or someone's trying to meet you, or when you're making connections?
I probably should. As a filter, I get introduced to a lot of people, but I find the ones that I really make lasting relationships for, not one quick half an hour Zoom, connect on LinkedIn, and that's the end of that, are the ones that I can have deeper conversations with, like this conversation.
No, thank
People that really do care about making a difference in the world, care about making a difference for their clients, and are really those conscious leaders, conscious entrepreneurs, even if they don't necessarily label themselves as such,
you.
because I think that's a little bit of a new terminology. And some of the businesses that I've worked with, they play a big role in their community just because they think it's the right thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, as a second part to that question, one of the things I marketed myself out to be, and this is a service I provide for my clients, is to be a strategic thinking partner for them. Because most people, small businesses are my niche market I work with, and they have to determine how to use their time because time is so important. And often they neglect thinking through who is a great connection for me to go out here and build with, who would be a great strategic partner for me to connect with to help supplement some of the weaknesses that I might have in my business. And I help them think through who would be a great strategic partner and find a way to connect with those individuals. So I'm curious to know who would be a great strategic partner for you.
Yeah, I love meeting folks in other disciplines. So, I'm in the financial world, so I love being able to talk with an HR professional or a sales coach, because we're all looking at businesses through slightly different lenses. And the differences in the views are very enlightening sometimes.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, I've mentioned this several times throughout today's discussion, but I just really want to make the point that you're always in a very positive state. You're smiling, your energy comes off, very infectious. And I'm curious to know, as a conscious leader, with all the negative noise the media sends our way, poverty, death, violence, war, etc., how do you keep yourself positive? Are there any morning rituals that you go through to kind of put your armor on, your shield, to shit out all that information?
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard. Watching the news, reading the news, there's not a lot of positive out there. But my mornings are sacred. I start every morning with meditation.
Mm,
I go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, which is really fun. I've been going very early lately because I've been really busy. So it's hard to do that work very early, but it gives me a lot of energy. It also gives me the feeling that I can conquer the world. When I'm done with that workout, I do CrossFit. When I'm done
mm.
with that workout, I feel like I can do anything. Um, and I try to make sure that I have a lot of positive people around me.
Excellent, excellent. You know, my next question, let me kind of set the context, then I'll go into the deeper question. That is, the question is there a kin connection you would like to meet? And what I mean by that, it's not necessarily a play on my name or my company's name. It's a term I come up for an individual who's achieved a certain success in life, whether it's professional, career, or personal, in which you admire the success they have. And you believe that if you were able to meet this individual, you can co-create to do some great things to have even a deeper, greater impact in the world. And so, with that being said, like for example, my kin connection, one of my kin connections is Magic Johnson. And it's not because he's a famous basketball player. I actually don't like him as a basketball player. I respected him. I was a Detroit Pistons fan. But it's because of the work he's done post basketball. He's a brilliant businessman, community leader, investor in the communities. And I believe if I met him, or when I do meet him, we can do some great things together along the models I'm building. Because I've developed a methodology that anyone is accessible and connectable if your purposes are in line. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, I'm curious to know who would be a great king connection for you.
Wow, that's a really interesting question. Um, the first one that came to mind, because I saw him speaking recently, not in person, is Barack Obama.
Hmm.
Um, I think it would just be such a fascinating conversation
Hmm.
to have with him. And another one, because she's done amazing things with what she's generated from her career, would be Oprah.
Those are two on my list as well. So yes, I could
Well,
definitely
maybe the
understand
four of
that.
us can get dinner one day.
Absolutely,
Now,
absolutely.
wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, and I think that's definitely achievable in this world. I definitely do. Now we're down to the last question, and this question really helps me learn a lot about an individual, not from a judgment context, but just lets me know their thought process and how they see the world, their perspective. So I'm curious, is there a book you would recommend to the listening audience that you would say, this book has been the most influential or inspiring in my life, and this is a book I definitely highly recommend that you read?
Yeah, it's a book that I read when I was just starting out as a manager. And let me first say, I love the Conscious Capitalism books. I actually picked up a copy of Spiritual Capitalism at your suggestion. That's next
Excellent.
on my table. But one of the books that had a really profound impact was Servant Leader. Ken, I can't remember his last name. I read it as a very young manager, and it just it just shifted my mindset. It's not about me as the leader at all. It's all about the team. It's all about what I can do for the team. It just really, at that stage in my life, was a profound paradigm shift for me.
Mm. Thank you, Servant Leader. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Ken starts with a G. Shoot. Um, you'll find it. It's out
Yeah,
there.
definitely look it up.
Yeah.
Well, we reached the end of the interview, and I want to give you an opportunity to first let me thank you for your investment of time and energy and wisdom you shared with us today, and being candid, I should say. And I also want to give you an opportunity to share any closing thoughts that you may have with our listening audience, as well as any contact information for those who resonate with what you're saying and then want to connect with you after this discussion.
Yeah, thank you, King. Yeah, this has been great. It's been really enjoyable. And what I want to say to your business owners out there is make sure you do understand how the finances work in your business. Come follow me on LinkedIn. I give away a ton of free information and free resources there. So follow me on LinkedIn or on YouTube and check out the videos, and you'll learn a lot.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, again, Judi, thank you very much for again, being here and just sharing your thoughts and your wisdom and just being the conscious leader that you are. And listening audience, thank you all for tuning in to another episode of King Connections podcast. Until our next episode, when we interview our next conscious leader, I wish everyone a blessed and productive remaining part of their day. Thank you all.